Jorge, Nancy, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Reshma. I'll be your facilitator for today. I am a professional learning specialist here at Amplify. But before we begin officially, I do want to let you know that we're going to begin recording. In fact, yes, Nancy Woods has begun recording the session. I just want to let everybody know that, in fact, this session will be recorded for the purpose of sharing with you so you can review it later when you need to. So before I get to find out who's in the room, again, you should be able to see me on camera and also on this slide. My name is Reshma. I'm from Amplify. I'm currently a professional learning specialist here. May have met a few of you in the past. Over the past few years, I've had the pleasure of supporting educators like yourself in implementing this program, and I hope to do the same today in a different way, in a remote hybrid setting, and kind of giving you some tips and tricks and collaborating on how we can best infuse technology optimally into this brand new instructional scenario we find ourselves in. Just a couple of norms. If you've already used Zoom several times before, this is a no-brainer. Take a moment, if you're new to Zoom, to orient yourself with the platform. You will be using the chat quite a bit, so please make sure you can find that for yourself. The attendance link has been dropped in there, as well as some links for other resources we'll be using throughout today's session. We ask that you please mute your microphone unless you're speaking. That just reduces background noise. If you're a note taker, go ahead and get a note taker out, a piece of pen or paper, Google Doc, whatever you'd like. And please do, in order to make the session as productive as possible, please engage at your comfort level. Of course, ask questions. We're here to support you. And answer questions. We want to be able to leverage the expertise, experience, and background in this room. If you'd like, go ahead and open up 2 windows if you prefer to navigate that way. Just know today I will be demonstrating some things for you. It's a short session, about an hour long, and then giving you a chance to practice and reflect. But if you're somebody who likes to follow along at the same time, you might want to have 2 windows open, or you might just have a bunch of tabs open like I do right here, in which case you'll be going back and forth between your Zoom tab and whatever other tab you're practicing or reflecting on. It might be a document, it might be the digital platform, etc. The objectives for today's workshop, you will be shared and have been shared on a PDF of today's presentation, so no need to take extremely copious notes. This is all there. By the end of this 1-hour workshop, what we hope for you to do is be able to apply a 3-step method for integrating and utilizing the Amplify Science at-home resources, the teacher's guide, which you're also familiar with, and third-party applications, so you can really prepare to effectively teach in this new remote hybrid setting that we're all in. And then also towards the end of the session, we hope to begin to develop a hybrid and remote instructional best practices toolkit that we can all share and collaborate on. This particular session, folks, does assume that you have some familiarity with the Amplify Science platform. So we are assuming that you have some knowledge on how to navigate the digital platform. Again, the session is being recorded. Materials will be made available to you. So if you prefer to orient yourself with the platform, note that the NYC DOE site has plenty of resources for you to do that, and that has been shared in the chat. In order to achieve these objectives, we have the agenda for today. We're going to begin with some brief welcome introductions, either introduce or refresh your familiarity and exposure to our brand new at-home resources, give you some tips via a 3-step method on how to prepare to teach remotely using these resources. Then we'll close up by starting to create a tool of best practices in a remote hybrid setting. And then we'll reflect and close out with a survey. I'm going to pause right there to see if there's any questions I can address about the objectives, agenda, any materials before we move on. All right, seems like we're good for now. If I do miss a question, folks, just because I am presenting, feel free to just interrupt me, come off of mute. I'm here to support you. Please do not hesitate to do that in case I miss something in chat. So just to begin, I'm going to ask you on this Jamboard, which I'm about to drop into chat, to post using this Jamboard 1 useful resource that you've used to facilitate your remote/hybrid instruction so far. This can be something that you've used in the spring, or something maybe you used today or last week. So go ahead and navigate to the Jamboard, please. It looks something like this. And over there, I'd love to see people's posts on resources they've already been using to facilitate their remote or hybrid science instruction so far. I see 2 people are in. Just going to give folks a few minutes to post their ideas. If this is your first time using Jamboard, just note that if you look right here, you see this, it's a Post-it. You might want to use this for your classes as well. You could change the color of the Post-it and you could type your ideas in post. Seeing some great resources already. I'll give folks a few more minutes. Great, thank you all for sharing. I see videos have been popular. You mentioned the videos that we had uploaded last spring. So I'm glad to hear about that. And you're using the at-home videos that we released several weeks ago. And then I see Flipgrid and Google Classroom to have students videotape themselves and share their experiments. Yeah, what a wonderful way to have the kids continue doing the hands-on aspect of our program. Thank you all for sharing. This is a great place to start our session, and that's really what our session is going to be about today, folks, about really utilizing these resources and how to utilize them optimally. Before we go on further, I want to take a quick temperature check. If you can, in the chat, rate your comfort level accessing and navigating these Amplify Science at-home resources on a scale of 1 through 5, 1 being extremely uncomfortable, 5 being extremely comfortable. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you're at a 1. Again, this is a known judgment zone. It's information for me. Check to see where we are so I could best pace this session. So go ahead and throw me a number in the chat, please. I'll wait for a few more numbers. I know we have about 12 participants. Okay, it seems like in this room we really are at a range anywhere from 1 to 4. So I'm going to do a quick average and put us at a 3, so we're mildly comfortable. So I will spend a little bit of time going over the resources at a somewhat medium pace, not at an introductory pace. And for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, again, just know these materials will be available for you as well as additional resources, so you'll have plenty of time to self-study and go over these. And know that we do have Q&A after today's session, so I am happy to support you then at 5 o'clock to 5:30, optional open office hours for any questions you have or further refresher you need. I'm going to pause there once again to see if there's any questions that I missed in the chat. Again, I'm relying on you to shout out to me if I do miss anything as I am presenting. I do not see anything. All righty. So let's go ahead and do a brief introduction of these at-home resources, refresher for some of you. We're going to start with the at-home units. So these are a brand new set of resources to make your job easier with teaching in a remote hybrid setting. And they are located in the Program Hub. And the Program Hub is located in this tri-bar that some of you might have already been navigating to, the global navigation menu. And as those of you who started exploring know that the first unit for each grade level is already available. Additional resources will be available as the school year progresses. So I'm going to go ahead and do a live navigation of these resources. These are the steps. I'm going to go ahead and live navigate and then give you a chance to do the same. So if I am on my platform, looks like this, I go to the global navigation menu, scroll all the way down. You'll have far fewer icons than I do. Go to Program Hub. Click I am a teacher. Again, this is refresher for some of you, new for some. Again, I thank you for your patience. If you've already done this before, and for those of you who are new, please know that there's additional support after today's session. For half an hour, any questions you may have. For remote learning resources, scroll down and then you would click your grade level. In this place, we'll click 3rd grade. If you missed the steps, no worries. I'm happy to retrace. Just let me know. Alternatively, I put the steps here. So I'm going to give folks, if you haven't done so already, just a minute or two to either open up a new tab or a window to your remote learning 3rd grade resources. And here are the steps. If you'd like me to retrace them live, just shout out to me, please. I'll give folks a minute. Now, as you are navigating to it or already there, know that this is an essential step, being familiar with these resources, what they are, how they can be used in teaching optimally with technology. So I'm just going to give you a brief introduction or refresher for some of you, a brief chance to explore. Just know that I'm just going to go over the resource briefly, give you some brief exploration time, and give you a chance to share insights and ask questions before we start to dig in on how to utilize this particular resource, set of resources with the Digital Teacher's Guide and any third-party apps you might be using or might consider using. So let's take a look at the at-home units first. So if I am at the Program Hub, which I'm right here, you see Balancing Forces resources are available, and these are coming out later. If you scroll down, you will see the teacher overview documents, some family overview documents, and the actual lessons. And know that these are asynchronous lessons. So there's 2 options. You have your print-based packets, and you have your slides. So the print-based packets are the ones that you would send your students who don't have consistent access to tech, and your slides are for students who have consistent access to text. So we have these two columns right here. And then these, again, just please note, are solutions for if you're devoting less instructional time. So they are the Amplify Science units condensed to 30 minutes, which is about 50%, which is exactly 50% for third grade. So know that these are the original lessons that are condensed to 30 minutes. Certain activities have been skipped, certain have been highlighted, prioritized. And then as you go through, and I'm going to give you a chance to explore, this is an sample slide, you'll see that there's embedded links. So for the kiddos who are receiving the slides, they have links to, for example, hands-on demonstrations, read-alouds. There's also links on the PDFs too, and know that these are optional, but the kids can access these links on a smartphone. Also know that in addition to the embedded video links, all students have access to the books and the digital tools online. And reminder, this is your username and password for your kiddos for third grade. When you look at the teacher overview, so I'm just going to be going back and forth between my slides and the platform. When you go to the teacher overview, which is up here, if you open it up, I'm just going to open it up. You can see that there's a PDF for Google. This is the document I'm referring to. When you skip down to the lessons, it will tell you which amplified lesson this particular home lesson was adapted from. Remember, these are condensed versions of the original lessons. And it also tells you the different modalities that students engage in. Know that these resources are all fully editable and customizable. So this, for example, this document that I opened up, you can edit because it's in Google Slides. You can edit any of the slides too that you give your kids. So these right here, since they're in Google, they're completely editable, so you can customize them. So that was a very brief introduction and a refresher, depending on who you are. I'm just going to give you about 3 to 4 minutes to explore this on the Program Hub. Go ahead and dig into a lesson, and then come back with any questions you have. Those of you who are completely new to these resources, again, I do want to reiterate, this might be very quick for some of you. Please do feel free to hang on during our open office hours for further support. But I'm just going to put about 3 to 4 minutes on the clock for you to quickly look at a home unit lesson, and we'll come back together with any questions, insights you might have. I hope everyone had a chance to take a look at a home unit, and I do thank you for your patience as I was reloading my presentation, which got momentarily lost. I just want to see if there are any insights or wonderings folks want to share, or if there's any questions about the home units before we take a brief look at the home videos. All right, nothing yet. Okay, so just want to make sure you take a look because this will be important as we move through the rest of the presentation. The next set of resources, folks, which it seems like based on our anticipatory activity, many of you have been utilizing and hopefully enjoying, are at-home videos. And these are simply recordings of real Amplify Science teachers teaching the lessons. So just going back to the program hub, these can be found all the way at the bottom. And you go there, they are all YouTube playlists. These are the original lessons in the original timing, 60 minutes in third grade. So they're great if you have the same amount of instructional time. And again, you can use these as models for your own teaching or use parts of it as is. Within the videos are calls to action, links to separate videos. It's very interactive, and as you have noticed or will notice that there is a separate video for each activity. So there's basically a one-to-one correspondence. So the at-home videos are here. So I'm just going to give you 2 minutes just to take a look at a video quickly. And we'll come back together with any questions or comments you have before we go on to our 3-step method on utilizing these resources. I hope you got a brief look at the at-home videos. Just want to pause there to see if there's any insights, wonderings, or questions you might have. Stacy, I see you said I'm still waiting for. Can you just type in or come off of mute what you need?
What I was gonna say, sorry. I was gonna say while I'm still waiting for my like permanent login information, will my students be able to access the books and whatever else they need to for the program?
Yes, absolutely. So you'll see the login information that I provided for you is completely open and your students can access now. Absolutely. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. All right. So you're probably wondering, okay, we have these at-home resources, which I've either just been introduced to or this has been a refresher for me. We have the original teacher's guide, and I have all these third-party apps. I see that some of you are using Flipgrid, Google Classroom. What's a suggested method that you can use to tie all these together so you can teach in a way that really maximizes student impact, extends your reach, and just makes life easier for you? So here's a suggestion. It's by no means the only way to do things. Feel free to I see that somebody's not hearing. My mute button is off. Perhaps you want to try to maximize your volume. My volume is up too. If somebody else cannot hear, please shout out so that way we can troubleshoot.
Go ahead, Reshma.
Okay. So again, this is a three-step method. Again, feel free to adapt it to fit your own particular needs, your context, but these are some ideas on how you could use it. So step one, we suggest that you go to the at-home resources, which you just briefly explored for the first time or as a review, and that you go to the teacher overview document. I'm just going to go ahead and do that for balancing forces, going back to the platform. You go to the teacher overview document, which I already opened, and you scroll down to whatever lesson you're up to. So let's say you're up to the second lesson, or let's just go to the first lesson. Take a look right here and look at the key modalities that are covered in the lesson. Going back to my slides. Find the lesson, find the key activities, and then go to, apologize, I lost my place for a moment. Here. You have your at-home lesson, so let me just backtrack. You're in the teacher overview document. Take a look at what the students will be doing asynchronously. Remember, these at-home units are meant to be done asynchronously. Students work through it independently. Take a look there, and then also look at what are the ideas for in-person instruction or synchronous instruction if you're meeting with the kids live, Google Meet, Zoom, whatever platform. We suggest you take a look there and then go back and look at the actual lesson. So this is lesson 1. You can open it up as slides. Open this up, the actual lesson. So I'm just going to open it up as a PDF, even though that you could open that as slides. As a way to familiarize yourself with the flow of the lesson. So you're trying to think which part, I know this is asynchronous, the part that the kids are working, but I'm also meeting with them. I have some live meeting time in person or on Google Meet or Zoom. What can I do then? So that's the first step. Recommend you do that. Figure out what your synchronous or your asynchronous is. And then, time permitting, go to the actual video. So you know, for example, here, if you go back to the teacher overview document, that this is from lesson 1.1. So maybe I want to watch lesson 1.1 video from here. Watch the actual video. Either to, I'm not going to let it load completely because you've all kind of went to the video pages there for some best practices, or to get further ideas on what you can do during your synchronous time, or to even use a clip if you wanted to. That's what we suggest you do as step 1. Now, this is a planning tool that was dropped into chat. It looks like this. Folks, we dropped this into the chat at the beginning. If you download it, it's completely fillable, so I'm doing that right now as we speak. And this particular planning tool, as this load, folks, if you haven't already opened it up, is a place for you to use these 3 steps if you'd like to. Please note that there's been a sample filled out for you at the bottom, too. I see that someone does not see that tool. If somebody doesn't mind dropping that into chat again, that would be wonderful. Yeah, great. So as I fill that in, so I'm thinking about this first home unit lesson. I see that the key activities are reading and writing. I'm thinking I'm going to administer it on this date. And I wrote some other notes right here, and you see that the dates to administer, again, I just made up these dates, October 1st and Monday, October 5th for home lesson 1. How is that going to break down? I filled it out here. Again, I'm just using this planning tool. So I decided that my synchronous activity, based on the ideas from the teacher overview, would be while I'm meeting with them either in person or on Google Meet, Zoom, synchronously, I'm going to have them debrief the text by sharing evidence of forces they found. I'm going to add this to a chart, either digital or physical, depending on how I'm meeting. And I'm going to do that on the 5th after their asynchronous lesson. Then I'm wondering, should I use the videos? And I said, yeah, I am going to use it. I watched the video and I thought activity 4 can be useful as an optional assignment. So I made a note for myself there. Again, this is filled out for you folks. It's at the bottom of your planning tool. So it's all here. I'm just talking you through the rows as we go through the steps. It's all here for you, as well as a blank one for you to fill out. That's what we recommend as step 1. Step 2, again, these steps are completely open to your revision. They're just suggestions. Go back to the original teacher's guide for some additional ideas. You're using the teacher's guide, the one that you've hopefully grown to love and have used extensively last year, for other ideas, most notably how to differentiate. And since you are doing some synchronous time, maybe you want to use some of the original classroom slides. So we recommend that you go to the teacher's guide, navigate to the lesson brief, and look at the differentiation. What differentiation strategies would you use in a remote, hybrid, or in-person setting? And then download the classroom slides. Are there any classroom slides that you want to use? Or you might want to just look at the classroom slides to get a better idea and a deeper idea of the original lesson. And especially if you're planning to do an additional synchronous activity, the classroom slides are great for you to get a better understanding of that synchronous activity. Filling in, so I filled in the corresponding rows on the planning tool. I pulled some differentiation strategies from the teacher's guide. Multiple meaning words, anticipation guides, some additional synchronous activity notes. I decided not to use any additional slides. And from the differentiation section of the lesson brief, these are the ideas I pulled for each of the different instructional scenarios. So basically going back to the teacher's guide, if you do have time to do that, is great for 2 purposes. Finding differentiation strategies, you're still differentiating remote, hybrid, or in person, and the original classroom slides. Maybe you want to pull a slide from there or 2 so you don't have to create your own. And step 3, folks, we recommend that you edit your original classroom slides or your at-home slides, whichever one you're using. Maybe you're using a little bit of both, with whatever apps you like. Some apps will highlight today, and these are by no means all-inclusive. I'm sure there's others that you're all using. For example, Jamboard. You might want to insert a Jamboard like I did, the anticipatory activity, into one of your slide decks. Maybe you want to do Pear Deck, really great performative assessment. Remember those on the flies? Pear Deck is great for that. And then finally, step 2, seems like you've all been doing this so far, upload your assignments onto Google Classroom. So those are the 3 steps, and then this filled out the very last row. There's a place, are you using Jamboard? Yeah, for this particular lesson, I'm going to use Jamboard for students to share evidence of the forces when I'm meeting with them live or in person. And I'm going to use Pear Deck for that on-the-fly assessment in activity 2. And these are some notes about what I should do on Google Classroom and some other notes. Again, just a sample filled out planning tool for you. I've made some sample Jamboards. You might have already been using this and you started using one at the beginning of today's session. These are great. So this is a sample Jamboard for one of the lessons of 3rd grade. So the lesson that I've been giving you a sample of right here again, lesson home, lesson number 3. So a sample Jamboard here is you can have something like this, and at the beginning of your live session, either in person or remotely, you can tell students to share an evidence of a force on a Post-it and put their name on the table. So that's a great way to, a suggestion to start the lesson. A sample Pear Deck slide. Pear Deck, remember, is an add-on. What I did here is I looked at the original lesson. I saw an on the fly. So I added a question right here. So as students are working through the slides, and this is for if you're meeting them live remotely, they can share after they finish their reading and there's reflection page, they can share their partner responses. And then, of course, you would upload it onto Google Classroom. And no, as you all probably already know, you can assign different assignments to students on Google Classroom. So another great way to differentiate. I did see some chats coming in, so I want to make sure I address any questions you have. Okay, great. It was about the tool, and you did see the tool. So here's a summary of our three-step method. Look at your at-home resources while we're still in this remote hybrid scenario. Last year when you were teaching this, you always went to the teacher's guide first. Things are different right now. Here's a suggested method. Go to your at-home resources and go back to the corresponding lesson brief and use the differentiation suggestions. Pull any extra slides you want. Study the slides for the synchronous activity you want to do, and then infuse your third-party apps like Jamboard, Pear Deck, some of you are using Flipgrid, and then upload it onto Google Classroom or whatever LMS learning management system you're using. Here are your steps that we suggest. I'll pause there to see if there's any questions, any comments, anything you would change about those steps. All right, so I'm going to give you just a few minutes to at least look at the planning tool. Again, today's session is very short, but we do have a half an hour after this for folks who want to stay on for any questions. To give you a chance to complete your maybe one or two first rows of the planning tool using this three-step method that I had just briefly demonstrated. Again, if you'd like to work through this more thoroughly during the 30-minute Q&A time after this 1 hour session, feel free. But let's go ahead and just all go here. And take a moment to start filling this in. Let's take about 2 minutes before we go to the last phase of our agenda. All right, I know that was quick, but coming back together, I just wanted to make sure you get some familiarity with the planning tool. I just want to go ahead and take a quick temperature check on your comfort level in utilizing this three-step method for teaching remotely. Just to get a sense of where we are with these 3 steps, if you can throw me a number in the chat, that would be wonderful. I see a request for the attendance link to be posted. Perhaps if someone can put in the attendance link again, that would be great. I do see the numbers coming in. I'll just wait a few moments for others, since I know we have about 10 folks on this call. Okay. Again, we're somewhere in the middle, which is not a bad place to be about 45 minutes into the session. So again, we encourage you, this was a very short session, to continue to practice, explore these resources, and try out this method, see what works. And with your feedback, we can, with our collaborative feedback, we can always find ways to really extend our reach and maximize student impact the best we can during a time like this. So what I wanted to really close out with is start us on a general remote practices toolkit. And this is a collaborative doc, which many of you have may have started using or have used last spring. I'm going to go ahead and drop that into the chat. And it's basically a open Google Doc. I'm dropping in right now. If we can all just go there. Looks like this, and share some general best practices. I've typed some of mine in there already, and this will be an ongoing doc that you can come back to with your colleagues on this call, so we can really make a concerted effort to sustain professional learning communities even after a session is over. So looks like this. I just dropped it into the chat. And you see that I started a row myself. I put my name. And these are just general remote and hybrid best practices. It could be with any discipline, not necessarily science. So for example, I put just simply, when you're teaching remotely, make sure the light's in front of you and not behind you when you're teaching. Make sure to use wait time, even more so on a remote call, because sometimes it takes kids longer to type or to find the mute button. For your little ones, make sure to infuse movement breaks. And then I put a cool, it's called the Wheel of Names. If you are cold calling during your live remote sessions, here's another cool tool. So I encourage you, just if you can write your name and share your own tips and add links to other resources, apps you've been using, so we can all really benefit. I do see folks slowly coming in. So I'll give everybody a few minutes to do that. Please take your own row and know that this will be available to you after today's call for you to continue to add tips and strategies and links to resources here, so we can all really benefit and learn from each other to continue that learning after today's session. Let's go ahead and take a few minutes. Thank you all for starting to add. I see, yes, Holly says provide step-by-step directions with screenshots to show students how to navigate through platforms or submit work. Yes, absolutely. Mimi says make a short video on how to navigate Amplify Science so you don't have to show them over and over again. Flipgrid to tape themselves as they're doing the experiments. Great, so a lot of use of videos, and I like this idea about tutorials. Hopefully similar to what I had done, that slides with the 4 steps. Yeah, so you have that as a reference. So you don't have to keep on repeating certain directions over and over again. So really creating a lot of videos. And I know folks, please continue to add to this for the benefit. We can all learn from each other of everybody in this room. And I really appreciate your input so far. So just to close out, just revisiting our objectives, we really hope to do just 2 things during this short call today. Start to apply this 3-step method in integrating all these resources, and continue to develop a remote and hybrid best practices toolkit, which you started doing here. Please do come back here and continue to add ideas. So just want to remind you as we close out, the NYC resources site. This contains a bunch of very useful resources for NYC DOE educators, including today's session materials, login information, pacing guide, so please do continue to check that. The Program Hub keeps on getting updated, and not only does it have the remote resources, it has a whole bunch of other orientation videos and other videos that are not necessarily related to remote learning that you can continue to check back on. Navigation, assessments. We also always have our Amplify help there and our program guide. We also have a caregiver site, which gives you, something that you can send to your caregivers for ideas on optional extension activities. Remember, there's also the family overview document. A reminder of these basic phone numbers, the chat for pedagogical and non-pedagogical support. So just a reminder, these resources are all there for you. While this does mark the end of the session for now, we do have open office hours starting at 5 p.m. So we welcome everyone for some, if you have any individualized questions. But before